Good morning, Earth and Pluto. If this transmission is going all the way out there. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Thomas Seaberg, ladies and gentlemen, and you are watching episode 4 of Deliverability Academy. Reply All, the 2025 Deliverability Roundup. And ladies and gentlemen, I've got two amazing folks who I get to work with every day. They're amazing. They're awesome. Nick Schaefer says, I tell everyone that they are my favorite, and because everyone I work with are my favorite, because we have some amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully she is my boss, ladies and gentlemen. Mrs. Natalie Hayes, the senior product marketing manager. Natalie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I got my workout in early. I'm training for my next lifting competition. So, it's the holidays. Might as well. Gotta get my gains up. So doing pretty good. Oh,
Heck
other than my
yeah.
voice going out, apparently. It'll be fine. We're just
Fun
hosting a
fact.
webinar. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's towards the end of the year, right? Fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, Natalie Hayes can power lift about probably 4 of me. That is how
Yeah.
dang strong she is. So, yeah. And moving down the line, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only. I believe in LinkedIn it says spam's worst nightmare, and I believe that. Ladies and gentlemen, Allison Goody, our deliverability advocacy specialist. How are you doing today, Allison? Good morning.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I see people in the chat that I'm so honored that they are attending here. Hopefully, we can share some new information with them, or at least reinforce the stuff they already knew, and they get to say, "Hey, I heard this on the webinar, and I think it too." So I'm pretty excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Love it, love it. Ladies and gentlemen, spam's worst nightmare, Allison Goody. Also, a big shout out to my buddy Brad Gurley out in the chat. I see. Also, congratulations on your new role over at our partner, Customer.io. Super excited about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And then also, I want to talk about some of our amazing backend team. You know her as well, ladies and gentlemen. You read her blogs all the time. Em Blitzstein, she is handling, dropping content for us and blogs in the chat. Also, answering your technical questions in the back end for our Q&A, we have Amber Melita and Jesus Garcia. Massive shout out to our back end team. We couldn't do anything without y'all. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this agenda, shall we? All right, 2025. Oh man, woo! What a year! It's coming to an end, but
We've
I'm
almost made
yeah.
it.
I'm just now getting used to writing 2025 on my dates. So yeah, it's I'm gonna have to go ahead and get rid of and get used to 2026 coming down the line. So yeah, 2025 in review. We'll review everything that happened this past year. Tons of things happened. Yuhoogle, EAA, tons of stuff. Yuhoogle technically happened the year before, but it was still happening this year. So, and then yeah, what the future holds. AEIOU and YOU. I still remember this song. Still my favorite, still my favorite. But yes. And then moving on, we'll recap everything that happened this year currently and what we're thinking is going to happen next year. So yes, we are going back to the future. And then last but not least, the Q&A. So all right. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, shall we? So, ladies and gentlemen, where is email headed in 2026? Okay, this is a poll for you, ladies and gentlemen. We want to know. All right, let's open it up. Let's open up this poll. Where is email headed in 2026? Do you think it's going to die finally? I hope not. Do you think it's adapting like always? Or is it a sign of the times? Are we thriving with the times? Let us know your responses, ladies and gentlemen.
Adapting, like, hey, sometimes you have to improvise, adapt, overcome. Which is what I tell myself every day. I can't do my deadlift. Improvise, adapt, overcome. No, you just have to do the deadlift. But you get what
You
I
just
mean.
grab 2 Thomases and lift them up.
Yeah, I just throw Thomas.
You lift 2 Thomases to get to the light bulb that you need to change. That's exactly. Okay, good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so we'll all run through this really quick. One person said dying finally. Oof. Guess we need to get you a email's not dead t-shirt for that one. Um, do we think it's adapting like always? I believe so. Yeah, we have 40 people said that. So good to see. Good to see. And 3 said thriving with the times. So yeah, I would say they're the latter two.
Yeah.
But yeah, good to know,
agree with
ladies and
that.
gentlemen. Good to know. All right, let's get moving down the line, shall we? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Always good to know how you're feeling on this episode of today's Deliverability Therapy. Okay, moving on, shall we? All right, let me go and close that poll. Stop sharing. All right, back into that stuff. So, okay. And now moving down the line. I think
Yeah, I was about to
Natalie
say.
wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, I was about to say let's talk about 2025. So again, it's not dying. If it is, we have a lot of merch to change. We have a lot of shirts to unfortunately edit. But that said, email is still going strong, right? And I think we can say that kind of across the board as with all omni-channel messaging, whether it be RCS, email, SMS, whatever MS. There's so many other. You never know what sort of messaging system is going to come out. But that said, still, at least for us, when we talk about email, the inbox still rules. It's still king, still queen. We all knew it. But with that, right? Like, what's wild is just how much 2024's like big changes we're still influencing in 2025. So, Yahoogle Yahoogle, now it's Yahoogle. You know, the acronym gets longer and longer, the longer we are here. And a lot of you know, right, or at least I hope you do, that there were big changes in the world of authentication last year that were still carried over into this year, right? So different baseline requirements changed for SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. You need to have these things in place. You need to have good policy set in place. Yahoo and Gmail sort of led that in 2024, and then Microsoft said, you know, hold my drink, I'm getting in on this. And we love them for it because honestly, right, like when the more inbox providers protect my inbox, the happier I am. So I'll take it, even though, you know, as a marketer, sometimes you might be like, it makes my life harder. Not that much. Actually makes your life easier, in my opinion. Other things, right, that changed this year. So accessibility. So it feels like a world away, like even when I talk about it. But the shift in EAA compliance that happened in, I believe, July, which again, this year doesn't feel real. It feels like it's several years old at this point. But essentially, right, very similar to GDPR when it was first enacted. The EAA came out with with compliance guidelines that needed to be met in order to send emails to recipients in the EU. So a lot of this has to do with making sure that your emails are more readable, that they are easy to navigate, and that they are accessible by default. It's no longer something that you can opt into. It is something that you pretty much you got to do it. We've talked about this a lot, including in several past Deliverability Academies. So no new news here, but again, it's a recap. And then, of course, accountability, right? So providers globally are really starting to push towards higher standards. We see this on the authentication front, but it's also, you know, you need to be making sure that you are cleaning up your email sending even more and more. And that's across the board, right? So making sure that your email lists are clean, making sure that you are meeting the thresholds that they are setting, and that you're being able to do that, because otherwise the consequences are only getting steeper. So, you know, the more you can stay on top of these things, the better. But I mean, overall, right, I think it's been a pretty good year for email, right? Overall, especially with Microsoft, like I'm going to be doing weightlifting metaphors this entire time, so everyone just bear with me, right? But it's a good muscle to work, right? And so it's something that you've already done, so you're just revisiting it for a new provider. So it's like going to a new competition, same lift, different place. It's okay. So nothing too like crazy or out of the ordinary this year. I think it's been a good like cleanup year overall. I don't know how you feel, Allison, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Yahoo Soft thing took people a lot of time to kind of get used to, and I think it also took the providers time to actually start implementing those changes. You know, we're watching every little thing, and I see industry chatter, and we're like, "Ooh, something looks different in SNDS. Are they rehauling? Like, are they overhauling it?" And Microsoft, of course, is like blessedly silent on the matter. But you know, we're watching for all these clues, and for the providers, it's such a big ship to steer and change the trajectory of, that I think this was kind of their year to be like, okay, we made all these big sweeping announcements. Now, what do we do about implementing them, and how is everyone feeling about it? And in fact, let's see, I went to full screen and now I don't know how to not be in it. On the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about Gmail specifically, because they like just stay iterating. They never stop. They keep us on our toes, which as a Gmail user, I love. Natalie, as you said, like we all use email, and I'm super pumped to see my inbox get more useful. However, as a sender, that obviously presents a lot of challenges. Postmaster Tools has been kind of changing and reiterating the game. Actually, just yesterday, not in time to refresh these slides, but I saw some chatter about V2 of API being available for Postmaster Tools. That's pretty exciting. They announced, I think last month, that they were going to retire IP and domain reputation from Google Postmaster Tools. We talked about it on the podcast, and literally the day the podcast came out, they were like, just kidding. So that's what the reference to, or does it, is about on the slide. They said they were going to get rid of this big thing. I was like super excited and ready to cope with it and tell people, hey, focus on something else. But I think the pushback in the industry was pretty large. People really rely on that one true score that tells them how their reputation is doing. Like, obviously, those more experienced among us know that there are many more factors that go into it. And knowing how you do with Gmail is great, but that doesn't tell you how you're doing globally. So I am excited to see what they come up with next, and I am kind of hoping they do go ahead with retiring IP and domain reputation, because we see all the time people will say, oh, my reputation is high, but I'm still seeing trouble at Gmail. And I think they think that mismatch points to an error on Gmail's side, instead of thinking, what does this really mean about what I've been doing and what Gmail sees from me? The big other news from them, I think, was that non-compliant senders were officially penalized. Gmail has been kind of silently updating their docs to say what type of enforcement they're going to take, what kind of thresholds they're looking at, what those factors are. And they have a specific compliance dashboard that shows you if you are complying with their requirements. And they actually finally started doing punitive things to senders who are not compliant in that dashboard. And I think that's good. It's nice to like threat, but as I have certainly seen working on a compliance task in the past, the threats don't actually get a lot of people there. You have to really see the impact in your mailing results for them to make a change. So full support from me on Gmail about that. And then again, as a subscriber, they've announced that the promotions tab is going from most recent to most relevant. I haven't seen that yet. I saw yesterday, I was searching for a message in my mail. I was going to make an example of some of these poor Black Friday senders who sent me 12 emails a day about a dress that I already bought. So some lessons to be learned still. So while I was searching for them, my search results allowed me to search by most recent versus most relevant. But in my promotions tab alone, I have not seen that yet personally. So I'm interested to see when that actually goes live. They've started rolling in a bunch of information related to purchases. As we will talk about in future slides about AI, the AI involvement may be beneficial, but maybe just confuses things more. They've been a little bit iffy on some of my tracking notices, saying that something will arrive tomorrow, and it's a DoorDash order that I ordered today. So I'm pretty sure if my sandwich doesn't get here till tomorrow, that's not good and also inaccurate. So I think there's a lot left to learn there on both sides for senders to communicate better in a medium that the AI is going to get involved with, and for AI to figure out better like where it's getting its data and assumptions from. So much to be done. But overall, I think the inbox is safer thanks in large part to these requirements. Gmail is really trying to keep all of us safe, and I appreciate that so much. Feels like every year internet users get younger and older. And I saw this tweet the other day that was like, boomer parents are the new iPad kids. And I think there is some truth to that. And so I'm worried about all ends of the age spectrum, like, being safe online, because I think the poorer job that legitimate brands do, the harder it is to tell what's real and what's not. And so I think it's good to have pressure on these senders to make them, just do better. Yeah. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny you mentioned that, right? Because like there are a couple of brands that like I really enjoy. One of them, again, this all goes back to weightlifting. One of them is Kill Crew. They do athletic stuff. I buy their pump covers all the time. But their emails are what got my attention, right? I was like, nice, 25% off. But then I feel like there has been this like weird adjustment where like since you can't wild out so much in email that you wild out in like SMS if you've opted into SMS. So like their campaign, like it got me a couple of times because I was like, who is texting me this? But it was like a hey babe, you up? And I was like, who is this? Like I'm just like, who's texting me this? And then I open it and they're like, by the way, our 25% off sale is still going on. I'm like, you could not send this in an email, but you got me on the SMS.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting to see like how different like retail, but also like B2B businesses are trying to kind of like play around with different tactics. I mean, as a marketer, I always find it interesting, right? Like this is the time of year where like me as a consumer, hooray, sales. But me as a marketer, I'm just like, what tactics are people trying? Like where are they experimenting versus where are they being a little bit more safe? And it's also like, I mean, knowing my age demographic in my early 30s, like I like browsing my email. I'm not shopping in my text messages, but maybe someone younger than me is. The kids, they keep me young, so it's always good to see kind of where the tactics are going and what the strategies are. So, but big agree, like Gmail keeping me safe. I do hope. I guess the only other thing I would add to that is I am a big like I like viewing things from when they landed in my inbox, not what's relevant to me. I decide what's relevant to me, right? So I'm a big like as if I'm able to like keep the option to like please keep it most recent. Like every time a social media platform is like we are going to change the algorithm. Please stop. I just want the most relevant. I don't need you to like understand who I am. I know me. Me know me. So that
me know me.
yeah, another example of AI being a detriment. Yeah, like in some like there needs to be a certain like level of trust that's given to the end user that I will be very like not to have one of my 2026 predictions, but I do think that will be interesting to see how it evolves going into next year because I do think that a lot of recipients and just a lot of people in general like want the agency of being the recipient back in their hands a little bit. But we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, to your point about, sorry, we can go after this, but when I was doing my search and the results were coming up most relevant, I'm like, relevant for what? Because I was searching for how many emails this brand had sent me on Black Friday. So like I needed to see Friday stuff all grouped together. And so it's like the thing that's relevant to me is when they arrive. So I'm curious if that's going to be one of those things Gmail ends up rolling back when they're like, actually, everyone hates this and did not ask for it, and we just tried to cram machine learning in somewhere, or maybe there's going to be a way to give them feedback and say, actually, this is not relevant. And I mentioned this on the podcast, but if you guys haven't listened to Emails Not Dead, our last episode dropped recently. But Peter, who is someone on our product team, he said the same thing about Gmail. He was like, if they turn the inbox into Instagram, I am done. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're alone on that.
Oh, Peter.
Anyway.
Oh man. Well, moving on from Gmail, we've got Microsoft, right? So Hotmail, yes. Cold mail, no. So again, we kind of already talked about this a little bit, right? But you do need to be properly aligned, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. It's non-negotiable. You gotta do it. But that said, like they also did make, or I guess we're a bit more louder, right, about like the things that they are asking out of their senders, right? So your from and reply to address should accept mail and be tied to an actual sending domain. We have gotten on this box before. Stop it with the no replies, right? Like stop it with the no reply inboxes. They are not good. They don't work. I understand what you're trying to do. like have someone look at the inbox, like let your customers talk to you. Like I promise, right? As someone whose inbox is over inundated with emails, it's worth it. That said, you also do need to keep your complaint rates low, very low. But if you're doing everything right, you don't necessarily have to worry about this all too much. Also, just avoid deceptive subject lines and murky consent, right? So a lot of this is like, don't. There were several, like going back to just Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like anything that's like urgent action required. And then I'm like, oh, and then I open it and they're like, we're having a big sale we want you to know about. No, stop, enough. But I've seen that like it gets especially risky if you are a B2B business. Like if you have something that's like if it is not truly urgent, right? And you are just it's like an upsell opportunity, it's a part of a new life cycle campaign that you have running, it's an upgrade campaign. Like there are ways to be creative, there are ways to be informative, and like the best advice that I have on this, right? Just like marketer to everyone in this room, right? Is urgent action. Like I understand you want the attention, I understand the intent behind a subject line like that, but instead like the thing that I like really like challenge like my team to think about is like, what does the customer care about in the action you are trying to drive, right? It's not the urgent action, right? That's us, like that's us going, that's the sender going, we really want you to buy our stuff. Whereas like for the customer, right, like what is it that they're doing within your platform or with your business, right? That they're interested in. And then if it's like, say they have an account where they have a current limit on like the amount of user seats, right? And you're able to see that like they log in from different locations, someone's definitely passing around a password, right? Then you can be like, hey, we understand your whole team needs to log into this account. If you upgrade, right, you get a couple more features and you actually get more seats. So maybe you do something creative with like have more butts and more seats. Like have fun with it. Be creative, especially if you're like on the marketing team and you're sitting here listening to this. Like, it's always good to flex that part of your brain. But anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. It's one I get on, I think, I'm pretty sure every single time we talk about this subject, but I feel very strongly about it. But then also just like going into 2026, like something to think about, and this is speculative. We don't know. This isn't confirmed. This isn't you're hearing it here first. But SNDS does feel dated. So probably some UI UX changes, a modernization push. I would bet money on it. Well, I won't bet money on it. I don't know anything. But I would expect some big updates on the SNDS side soon. But Allison, I don't know if you have any thoughts on top of that.
Yeah, I think some people just said like, ooh, the edges of the boxes in SNDS look like more bubbly and not so angular. So maybe they're trying something out. So yeah, super speculative. Just like, a lot of us are watching these things like a hawk and note every time something changes. So I'm hopeful they'll give us some more useful data, similar to Google Postmaster Tools IP and domain reputation. SNDS for the uninitiated gives kind of a color grade, a red, yellow, or green to say how your IP is faring. And I will say, superior to Google Postmaster Tools. They at least give a range, but I think for yellow, it's like 10 to 90% of your mail is in the spam folder, which is a pretty freaking broad range there. And so I would love to see them either tighten that up, get rid of it completely, or do something really wacky that we've never seen before. I do really like that they include the number of their spam traps that have been hit in their network. I think that's something really useful. I wish other providers would do that if they were using spam traps and wanted to tell us about it. That would be super cool. But I do think it is about time for a refresh. However, I also think their push towards more authentication maybe gave them some trouble and create additional issues. So maybe this SNDS thing has been pushed to the back while they're figuring that out. Rolling right along, Yahoo stays iterating too. And in fact, some of the features that have been rolling out, they've kind of beat other folks too. They have already been doing some of the pulling out shipping notifications and things in their UI. I think they lean very hard into being people's kind of marketing email receiving provider. They know that that's what people are using Yahoo for, and they lean into it, which I really admire. One major change for them, which if you're a legacy Yahoo user, this was a big deal for you. They were giving people 1 entire terabyte of storage, and they have kind of backed off of that a bit. They've moved down to 20 gigs. That's still more than Gmail has. has. So I don't think you're probably going to run out of space anytime soon unless you are giving your Yahoo address to like every brand ever, in which case just go start a new account. Don't tell them I sent you. And so we did see some senders bouncing emails when that happened. Not specifically related to Yahoo, but separately, Bimmy has been really moving into the mainstream. Senders want to see their logo in users' inboxes to help, give that trust and leverage that brand recognition. So we're seeing a big push towards that. That's kind of the carrot for the stick that is DMARC adoption. So as these providers are moving towards pushing DMARC adoption, I think that Bimmy is a really good reward for, I know you just did this hard thing, but look how cool you look in the inbox now. Congratulations. And I think these are really critical now in the year of our Lord 2026 coming up. List hygiene is more important than ever. Senders really saw the effects of that when mail started bouncing because they had not been cleaning their list long enough and not noticing that people at Yahoo had not been engaging in quite some time or had just been sending way too much mail that got, crowded up into folks' inboxes and finally got the boot. And brand trust is critical. Like we were talking about earlier, just knowing that your inbox is a safe place to be. There are still a lot of user controls that go into that. And so having that logo leverage that recognition, I think, is going to be very helpful for users of certain ages, whether young or old, to know exactly who to trust in their inbox. So I think those have been some really strong developments. And anyone else have anything to add before we go next?
No, I mean, I think Bimmy is one of those things where like it's been around for a while, right? And we've been harping the adoption of it for quite some time. But I think, again, I don't want to get into 2026 predictions too soon. But I think it's gonna become pretty important, right? So like I know it's budget season for a lot of people. If you haven't been considering, right, Bimmy and managing that, right, I would start looking into it. Again, like there are a bunch of different providers out there who can help you with this, right? If it's something that you want to look at with like say Redshift or Demarkian to help with, like just think about it. Just think about it. It's important. But those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, the adoption from our buddy at Matt Vernout at the Bimmy Group. Make sure you check that out because you can constantly see everyone that's adopting and submitting their certification requests as well. So you can see every major brand slowly adapting. So it's growing, it's getting there, but it's going to be more necessary, especially for people's email strategies as we keep moving forward. But yeah, it's growing. Just watch it. It's just growing.
Yeah, cool. And then we mentioned this earlier, and Thomas, honestly, I think you have a really good handle on this. So I'd love to hear your take on a little bit more about the EAA. Like, what is the impact of legality on deliverability? What should our senders really be concerned with as we move into the new year?
Yeah, for sure. Mostly, and I was taught all this through our amazing colleague Megan Bushhausen. But dropping some knowledge in y'all real quick. So the World Health Organization has estimated 1.3 billion people have disabilities, which translates to about 736 million email users with disabilities. Now, if that's 60% of the global population, and if your emails aren't accessible, you're creating barriers for people who can't read your emails, right? So essentially, and I hate to use this as an analogy, but you're leaving money on the table, right? So it's like, okay, why are we not making sure that all of our emails are accessible for everybody? So screen reader users alone represent for about 59 million in lost revenue. That is nuts. That is wild, y'all. So most importantly, with the EAA, we're making sure you're following WCAG guidelines, and that's WCAG, WCAG. We love saying that acronym. But make sure you follow those guidelines. The EAA debuted this past June. If you do not align with it, you will be fined. Don't wait for those fines to come after you. We saw that with the GDPR. It can happen. You are going to have a bad time. Don't be like the principal, and also he was the principal, and he was also the head leader, I guess you could say, in Top Gun. But don't be a slacker, okay? So make sure you're doing that. But also that means in your structure, making sure your left-aligned text is taken care of. You have clearly defined headings. You have logical reading from top to bottom. Make sure you're setting these things up. And most importantly, you can use Mailgun Inspect actually for some of this stuff. And so most importantly, please follow along with your accessibility, because you're leaving out a ton of recipients who could be reading and utilizing your email. So yeah, I
Yeah.
hope that covers it for the most part.
I think so. And I think just like as a nice little like adage, right? Like while you're looking at this, and again, like I try to bring like a marketer's perspective of like the whole view, right? Like while you're taking a look at like how compliant and how accessible your emails are, I would take a look at your like broad strokes, your entire digital marketing strategy, right? So like a good example of this that I've been like really like trying to hammer home lately is like alt text on images. Like whether that's on social media, whether it's on your ads, like include alt text that is descriptive, right? Don't just put a picture in the alt text. Like actually put the effort in. It's not just one of those things where you can just kind of like band-aid it and call it good. Like the further you go to be more accessible, especially with certain like social media platforms, like you will improve your reach. Like you will help yourself when you help others. And that's like my big takeaway. Like it's one of those, you're already looking at this in email, look at it across the board. It can't just be one channel. It has to be all of them. So yeah, be good to others. They'll be good to you.
And not to continue in the trend of cramming AI everywhere, but let the AI help you. If you don't want to write the image description, like make the AI do it. When I generate images on GPT sometimes, and I upload them to LinkedIn, it'll give me a description already. Granted, they're not super, robust. You may have to add them. Like for this picture, I think it was like dog. You're gonna have to add a little bit, but you can get a starting point if you struggle to figure out how to describe an image in a way that would be beneficial. And I also think, much like Bimmy is the carrot to the DMARC stick, money is the carrot to the stick of like including everyone. If you do not feel that this is worth your time because these are people, at least think of the dollars. One of those things should be important to you, or maybe you are the AI. I don't know.
I mean, if you are the AI, if you're watching this, I have questions. But if you're watching this, I have so many questions. But let's kind of dig a little deeper in here, right? So we'll go into the dev corner. And I'm going to channel now. She no longer works with us, but I'm channeling my inner Megan. I talked to her this morning, so it's whatever. I talk with her all the time. So a couple of tips from the dev side of things, right? So use semantic HTML and proper ARIA, there it goes, roles. So make sure that they have like semantic HTML so that it can be navigated easily if there is assisted text. So very similar to like kind of like alt readers, right? And screen readers, right? It's like if you are not developer focused and you're like, what are you talking about? Like it's almost like, say like you're writing a paper or you are writing a new set of copy. You are not going to write it in like chiller font, right? Like it's going to be hard to read. So like think about it in almost like you are setting right your font to make it easier for assistive technology to be able to navigate. So like clean it up, just like with any code, honestly. I mean, granted, right? Like code can get way crazy, but like with HTML, like make it easy to read, right? Like clean it up. Doesn't need to look absolutely horrendous. No. So just make sure your formatting looks nice, neat, and pretty. We all love to see it. And then of course apply those roles. So like role equals button to elements that act as buttons but aren't a button. So again, this is all for the ease of screen readers. You wouldn't write a document in Wingdings, would you? It's those type of things, right? It's like to just kind of connect it to brains that might not be in this like all the time. Like that's a great analogy. Like you don't want to write it in like a crazy font. You want it to be easy to read, but also like whenever you write a sentence, you don't want to have it like absolutely chock full of semicolons that you don't know how to use, em dashes that you don't know how to use, words that don't make any sense, commas where there don't need to be commas, right? Like just tighten it up. That's it. So that's tip number one. And so please no size 2 font. My poor eyes, as decent as they are, can't handle it. And it's it is what it is. And then of course, right, like use the right elements. So like don't fake it. Use a real button when you actually want to have actions. If you need a link to behave like a button, then that's when you add that role. Kind of going back to tip 1. Goodness. And of course, proper keyboard focus support. So again, like a lot of this just has to be like making sure that everything looks clean and it makes sense. Another example, right? If we want to go back to writing, you would not write an entire body paragraph with the formatting of an H1. That makes no sense. I don't know why you would do that. So, just common sense in that regard, but also like don't misuse address. It can only contain the contact info for the sender. It can't be random physical, like don't put your office address, don't put your home, I don't know, please don't put your home address. Right, but it needs to be your email address. We're all email lovers here. So I don't think I have to harp on you guys a little bit too hard on that one. But yeah, I mean, really, like the main takeaway on this is like keep it simple, keep it clean. Don't use chiller font. I don't know why I'm on, I'm clocking chiller so hard today, but that's where we're at. Anything
You
else to add, guys?
you wouldn't set your your reject at p equals none.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anything to add,
Yeah,
Allison?
no, I think that's all super helpful. I just think these are really good examples of ways that you can think about the actual end user. You're not just trying to beat the algorithm. You're not just trying to check the boxes, but you really want this to be useful to the people that you're ultimately sending to, and think about what that experience really looks like for them. And I know it can take a lot of effort to put yourself in someone else's shoes, but I think it pays off every time. Life lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
real quick. Yeah, we
too
were
far.
talking about what's the future hold. AIIOUONYOU. All right, take it away.
All right,
Cool. Yeah.
Allison, this is all you.
Oh yeah, it is all me. So we're talking a lot about AI. I see it all the time. People are trying to figure out how to shove AI into their lives. I see a lot of people are getting a little bit obsessive about AI optimization as opposed to search engine optimization. They really want their brand to come up when folks are chatting with AI. And I mean, I think that's great. I understand why you want to do that from a brand perspective. And I think AI can be assistive. It is not yet authoritative. What we have seen and heard about is that AI is already rewriting some things for you. Like we talked about earlier, Gmail is replacing some of the preview text with extracted summaries, including your purchases. Yahoo may overwrite parts of your subject line or your pre-header text. Apple is toying with rolling up your messages into a single grouped preview so that you have to kind of ferret out which of those messages you want to get in the thread. And none of this can be opted out by you, and sometimes even by your users. We talked about Gmail will maybe let you toggle back and forth between recency and relevance, but a lot of these AI summaries we're not able to control. I'm just going to have to deal with it when they show up and say, like, here's your tracking information, your thing's going to be there tomorrow, and also this is a lie. And so it makes it kind of hard to align with that. And I kind of think that in the future, we may need to just keep that user in mind and not just try to please the AI, but think about the actual user experience, because parsing that purchase data isn't always perfect. The AI understands patterns, but not intent. It knows that users open emails on a Tuesday, but not why they did that. It's just seeing it. Like when I was searching for that email, it knew I was looking for a brand and thought, oh, here's what's relevant to you. And it was wrong. I wanted it recent. And so we and the AI are going to have to learn to work together in blissful harmony, hopefully, fingers crossed. And so I've been thinking about these concepts. Inbox optimization. So design beyond delivery. You want to aim for desire. Your goal is not just reach the inbox. I tell customers all the time, senders all the time, you're not an email sending company. Like, that's our job. You have some other goal. So I know you're saying these things about you want to hit X number of inboxes, or you want to send X number of emails, but what is your actual goal? Because I don't think that's when your shareholders care about is like, oh, we sent 1 million emails. Like they want to know what that actually translated into. And so the AI can predict usefulness and maybe get it wrong, but your goal is to give it proof that you're inbox worthy by doing things that the users really want. And so that really relies on garnering trust. So authentication, which we talked about ad nauseum, building that reputation and having a recognizable identity, such as through things like BIMI. And you really need to work on subject lines that survive if your preview text vanishes. I know people have long kind of relied on pre-header text to be like almost like an Easter egg second part of their subject line. And that may not be an option anymore. You may have to think, what does my subject line say all by itself? And is that thing honest and not shady in any way, even if I think I'm being funny? You need to really work on desire. You need to signal that people really want what you send. And so that relies on, again, clear copy that the AI cannot contort. If you're saying, Natalie, like we were seeing a lot of people sending emails like, oh my God, we have a huge emergency. That AI summary might be like making assumptions. It's doing predictive text. So if it sees huge emergency, it might totally misconstrue.
Yeah, it might hallucinate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so is that the message you want to send to your users? Do you want to give them a totally incorrect impression of what has been happening? I don't know. Probably not. Timing is also very important. So instead of obsessing over like, what does reputation say in Google Postmaster tools, what are the humans saying? Because the humans are the thing driving that reputation score, not vice versa. So I really want senders to take this into the new year and beyond. Send when it makes sense for your users' lives and not just your calendar. Because again, I hear from people all the time, oh, well, we have this content calendar and I need to get it out. And I have been subject to that too. I try to post on LinkedIn every single Wednesday. And for what? It doesn't always go well. People don't always want to hear from me every Wednesday. And so if you can figure out what people actually want from you and do that thing rather than like, beating the algorithm or figuring out what it wants, I think you will succeed more in the long run. And think heavily about agency. The humans are setting the strategy and the AI executes it efficiently. So your job as a person is have a good intent so that the AI can distribute it properly the way that you intend for it to. And finally, I want to talk really about user optimization, because I think this is kind of the drum that we have all three for sure been beating for years now, which is your goal is to optimize things for your actual user, not just for Yahoo to like you, not just for Gmail to like you, not just to get really tight numbers, but what are you doing for the people that you're trying to market to? Because that's the human part and the AI cannot care about that. You have to. The AI is neutral. So I really recommend prioritizing people over platform and ask yourself these questions before hitting send. What's happening in your customer's world? Like, we all know that Black Friday happens every year, but I don't know about y'all, but it feels like the news is crazier all the time. We thought COVID was as bad as it gets, and like our country and the world have just been getting nuttier and nuttier. And sometimes buying a new pair of shoes is the only way I can cope. And sometimes it's the last thing I want to think about. And so, when you're thinking like, oh, I'm a daily newsletter sender, I send 6 emails a week and people just aren't opening, like, open the newspaper, read the headlines. Is there anything else that might be distracting people that makes them care about this a little less? And how can you respond to that? If they care a little less, can you send a little less? What else can you do to make this work a little bit better? Again, seasonality, it's Black Friday now, so I get it. But like, is it just another Black Friday, or is there something else you should consider before, again, sending 8 emails in one day about your Black Friday dress sale? So if attention is low, your volume should probably respond in kind. Also ask yourself, who actually cares right now, not just who opened in the last 180 days, which is something I still hear from senders all the time. Even, again, people sending daily newsletters in email years, that is such a long time. 180 days is forever. I'm checking my email multiple times a day, and I think a lot of people are, because you likely get it pushed to your phone. And so 180 entire days of not looking at an email from a specific sender or clicking on it, that's way too long. And so I think people should really consider tightening their segment to optimize for their users. Look at the signals across recent sends, look at across recent multiple channels, and figure out what are people actually responding to and how can you give that to them without inundating them. Same vein, if you were to stop sending for an entire month, who would notice? Maybe you only send once a month. And if you skipped one, would people care? Maybe you send every day. And if you skipped 30 whole sends, would people be relieved or sad? And think about what that means about your own behavior and how you can change it. If no one would miss you in an entire month, maybe that's a clue. Maybe this is your rock bottom and it's time to do something else. And finally, what purpose does this email serve for the recipient? I know your business goals, which again, I don't think are just send a ton of emails, make money, but how can those goals align with what your users want? Because you're trying to get something from them. So what is it that they want from you. The beauty of email is it's a two-way channel. And so it's a communication between a brand and a user, and that user needs to really want what you're doing. So what is the purpose? And if the only need being met is internal, that content calendar needs to be met. The boss is breathing down your neck about sending one more email. If you can fight to skip it, maybe try to skip it and see what effect that really has. If people miss you, great, you can recalibrate. But if they don't, maybe that tells you a little bit something about how to do your marketing plans in the future.
I think too, right, like with that downtime, right, like if you're going to test that downtime, because I know it can seem very scary, right, like you're just going to stop sending those emails. I think it is a great opportunity to think about the strategy, right? Like if you're already like seeing dips and like lower returns, then it's time to go like, okay, well, what do we think is working and what isn't? And what can really inform you there are the metrics that you get, right? So your opens, your clicks, like, see what content is resonating. Like go back, right? For the last like 10, 15 email sends that you've done, depending on your sending cadence, and really look at like, well, what do people seem to care about? Like what's actually grabbing them? And if you ran an A/B test, right? Because I know we all do, right? Like, okay, well, which one like did really well? And then look for the patterns, look for the through line. So whether it's like mapping it out in an Excel sheet, or like I'm super old fashioned. I have a whiteboard off screen that no one can see that's like surrounded by like cute little rainbow whatevers. But like that's how I map it out, right? Like I will essentially list, and then I will start going, okay, what's the through line? And it doesn't need to be like this highbrow, high data, whatever. It can literally just be like, okay, well, these seem to have more of like a pathos lean. These leaned more into a specific feature, right? This was more about something that was seasonal. And then you just map it out. And then you go, okay, how can we repeat this? What can we make that's repeatable? And then test, test all of it. But I think in that downtime, sometimes people are like, well, I'll just wait on my hands, or I'll go look at something else. Like, no, this is a great time to actually like take a step back and really strategize, right? The world is moving so fast. Like everyone is moving so fast all the time. We're all busy. It was funny, right before this call, we were talking about like, gosh, I would love to live in precedented times rather than unprecedented times. But in these times that we are all in, like it's okay to slow down and like just sort of take stock. And it's the time of year to do it. Like if you're, I know you guys, you're already thinking about like your New Year's resolutions. Like take a look at your emails and then what's going to be your resolution going into the new year. What sort of strategies do you want to try? What do you want to test? And then, kind of take a step back, relax, take stock, move forward. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Adapt, react, act.
Adapt, react.
No.
Do you want me to take this one, or would you like to?
Go for it. Yeah, no, go for it. I went overboard on the AI stuff. Sorry, I just kept
going.
No,
you're fine. No. you were feeling yourself, Allison. I wasn't going to stop you.
I was. Sorry.
So looking forward, you are not out of time for these quick wins, right? So audit your auth alignment. Now is a good time, right? But set a quarterly reminder. Don't let it, it's not a set it and forget it. You do have to revisit it. Everyone always has like a quarterly task of some sort of benchmarking and checking that they have to do. Just add it to your list. Monitor complaints and understand what drives them, right? Really kind of get a good understanding of why your recipients are complaining. And also target thoughtfully and trim inactives. So make sure you're cleaning your list, make sure you're doing this regularly, right? And make sure you're looking at a time frame that is tighter than you probably think it needs to be. At accessibility testing, if you haven't already, you should be doing this, right? It is something that you absolutely need to be doing across the board, not even just for email, but across your entire marketing efforts, and your non like super marketing emails, right? Those need to be checked as well. It's not just the things that your marketing team is sending out; it's what's being sent from your application. It's what's being sent in a transactional sense. All of that needs to be tested for accessibility, and then track the metrics that matter. This could be different for just about everybody, of course, right? Like complaints should always be up there for everybody, but everyone kind of has a metric that they care about just a little bit more than the others. But then those that don't sweat them too hard. And if you have a stakeholder that's like really keen on opens, you can be like, hey, listen, right? Like opens, they're a funny metric, right? They get a little silly, and then explain it to them, right? Like you said, as a learning opportunity to educate on what things you should actually be tracking, if that's something that you run into. But also, well, I mean, welcome to the future. So AI co-authors your emails and inboxes get smarter every year. So you don't need to outsmart it, you just need to align with it. But also, like, the other thing too, and I will harp on this, like, even though it is your co-author, it is not the author. You do need to have like primary ownership in the messages that you're sending. You do not want to be the email that someone goes on Twitter or Blue Sky or LinkedIn and goes, look at the M dash. Like, don't let that be you. don't let that be you, right? So make sure you are still like putting your best, your best foot forward, right? If you are looking for the easy way out, it is going to reflect in your metrics. It is going to reflect in your engagement. But those are just some of my thoughts, Allison. I don't know what else you might want to add on top of that.
Yeah, no, I agree with all those things. I definitely agree with, you don't want to be the one caught out on LinkedIn, because I've been doing a little bit of that myself lately. So apologies. But there's just so much to work with. There's so much email in your inbox that can really frustrate you at times. So anyway, I definitely think that is, that's the takeaway. Sorry, we're getting tight on time here. So let's move it on along. Thomas, go ahead. Wrap us up.
We have to go back to the future. No, yeah, for seriously though, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, so history repeats itself. Let's recap what happened this year, why did it matter, and what you're still not up to speed on. So, all right, most importantly, audit yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure SPF, DKIM, and DMARC are fully aligned. And I don't know if you heard earlier, if you heard what Microsoft was saying, but yeah, if you are not on the bus, you can't get on the bus. And what they say specifically, get aligned or get left behind. So most importantly, make sure you're getting that taken care of. And also make sure those from and reply to addresses, they should be accepting email and be tied to the actual sending domain. So make sure those are actually being worked. Your unsubscribe centers, make sure those are good and taken care of. And most importantly, keep those complaint rates at less than 0.1%. Make sure you're reviewing them, you're auditing them, you're keeping an eye on them. Deliverability is an art and science, so make sure you're doing both. But
I was about to say, Lee, not to interrupt our New Year's resolutions, but as someone who also loves an M dash and a semicolon, now people are attacking the semicolon, and I will not stand for this.
Rude.
As someone who writes a lot in their free time, I feel you. The M dash is your friend.
They better not come from my parentheses. I can't get rid of them.
Will.
I need them.
They will. I was about to say, I didn't think they would come for the semicolon, and now people are like, semicolon user, AI, and I'm like, it's properly used. I know what I'm doing. I got a degree in this. But that's my own personal soapbox. Oh gosh, sorry. I got us way off track. I know, grammar? Suspicious. It's a joke that my husband plays on me all the time, where he's just like, maybe like write worse. And I'm like, thanks.
Can't do it.
Man. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, so identify your audience. Make sure you're trimming inactives. Again, we've kind of said this a lot already, so I won't harp on this too much. Clean your lists. Make sure you are segmenting them as well. If you have just one giant big list, now is the time to segment and run some experience. And also learn from prior successes and failures. Map it out. Take a step back. Strategize. And test any way you can. You can do this with a variety of providers, us included, right? On the Mailgun, email, and acid side, you can test whether that's for accessibility, whether that's for the inbox. Just do it. Please test your emails, because otherwise you will be very upset that you did not.
Then you'll have to send one that's like, oops, we made a mistake. And then the AI is going to be like, you're going out of business. So yeah, test. Be really careful.
Yeah. And then,
speaking of,
yeah, about to say, you want to roll through these real quick so we can get to a couple questions?
Yes, sorry. Okay. Speeding right along. Optimize for the machines, but aim for people. Worry about accessibility. It is a law and it is also a best practice as a human being in this world. Put your customer first always. That is who you exist to please. Pleasing them pleases you and your shareholders and your boss. So put your customer first, use honest subject lines. It's okay to get a little bit sassy with it, but think about how this will read if you are a machine, if you're a person with no context, if you're a person with a screen reader. Honesty is typically the best quality, and deception can be against the law and really expensive. So be careful. Send content that people actually want, or consider skipping it. If you cannot come up with a compelling reason that your customers want to hear from you, maybe they don't need to hear from you right now. And just to bring this on home, read between the lines. Today's suggestions are tomorrow's must-haves. We've talked a lot about DMARC. Currently, the DMARC requirement is just to have a policy. We all suspect they're going to be moving towards a P equals reject in the future. So maybe start thinking about that and how you can get ready for that now, because again, that could be a requirement in the future based on what is being suggested today. Regulatory compliance is the floor. It is not the ceiling. You should comply with the law, but that is not where you should stop. You need to go beyond that. And finally, deliverability is not dying. It is diversifying. It is adapting. It is overcoming. It is reacting, all that good stuff. So, it's not dead. We can keep doing this, but we really need to make sure that it's pleasing the people that we are sending to if we want it to survive. And that is all for me.
It's question time.
It's
Yay.
question time. And we've got time for maybe like one, because we have so much good info, ladies and gentlemen. So let me take a look over here to our left side. Okay, looks like we got a little few here. Forrest actually was asking, are there any updates, changes with how Apple affects open rates in 2026? Are we predicting anything differently in that realm?
I assume this is referring to MPP, mail privacy protection, from a couple years ago, where Apple started prefetching images so that inflated open rates. I personally haven't heard anything. Natalie, have you heard anything upcoming about Apple?
No, I haven't. I don't think, I don't foresee any like major movements from them on that front. Now, I do know that they I know that they've talked about, and like Brian brought up, like the business brand identifier for companies that already have like BIMI implemented. Like Apple is one of those ones where they play their cards so close to the chest, it's hard to say definitively. So they might, like, if anything, I don't think it will affect open rates. Now, they might do something with BIMI. And like that kind of goes back to what I said earlier, is I do think, as a prediction, that BIMI is probably going to get a bigger focus. I do think that's something we're going to see. Is it going to be from Apple specifically? And do I think it's going to affect open rates? A little too soon to call. But that's just kind of me, looking at Apple from 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. I saw one question we have like so fast there. There's one from Brian asking, with ISP AI determining recency and relevance, is STO still relevant? I assume this is referring to send time optimization. And to Natalie's earlier point in the recap, test. I think send time optimization is likely overrated, especially because of things like Apple MPP, with your open time maybe not being when a human opened it, but it's when the image was prefetched on the server and just sat on someone's phone. But if you see lift when you use something like STO, then by all means keep using it. I just don't think there's a blanket answer. And my hunch is that that's one of those things that like sounds really cool and was a fun way for ESPs to say, like, we help you meet your users where you are. But the technology has shifted since that was initially introduced. And so I don't know that it's going to still have the same lift, but please do test it, because what works for me or as a blanket recommendation may not work for your brand. Brian, thank you for asking that.
Yeah, I was about to say it is one of those things where I would almost consider STO at this point almost like a stepping stone to what we're starting to see out of inbox service providers with like this AI like relevancy and things like that. Personally, that's kind of how I see it, is that like it's tech that led to this, right? It was kind of testing the waters of what users wanted to see. And so it's probably waning a little bit kind of as we move into these crazy AI waters.
100%. And sorry, there are some other good questions, but we really do have to go because it is about that time. I do want to show can you show the thank you slide? I don't know how to get it back on there.
Of course, gonna show that thank you slide.
That's my favorite one. So anyway, I personally want to say thank you all to y'all being here today. I know it is that like liminal time of year where you don't want to do that much, and so I appreciate you killing an hour with us. Hopefully there was something useful for you, and maybe you learned a little bit about weightlifting along the way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're following Nally and Allison's LinkedIn's. I think M's gonna drop them in our chat really quick. Nally, I don't mean to cut you off. Go and into your
No, I was
note.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, if you ever have like any, if you ever want to like talk strategy, right, or kind of get some ideas on kind of the marketing front, like feel free to drop me a line on LinkedIn. If you want, some tips on how to get into strongman too, I guess, like you can drop me a line on LinkedIn, and we can talk shop or talk gym. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Love it, love it. And make sure you follow Allison too on there as well. You can find me on there as well. If you want an audio version and also with a video version as well of this, we just released an end of year episode for Emails Not Dead. I believe M's going to drop a link in there as well. It's our latest episode. We were wrapping up for the year, but we'll see you back in 2026. And the same thing for Deliverability Academy. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us this year. This is our first season and time doing this program. So we'll be back in 2026. So thank you all for hanging out with us. Big thank you to Allison. Big thank you to Nally. Big thank you to M, to Amber, and Jesus for hanging out with us for our back end team. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you soon. This is recorded. You will receive it in your emails. You can come back here and take a look and watch it. But yes, awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we will see you in 2026. Take care, 2025. We'll see you next year.
Bye, y'all.
Good luck. Goodbye.